Welcome back to My Life on a GLP-1. I'm your host, Scott Johnson. I'm glad to be back after a short vacation where I drove across the country. With me, as always, is my amazing co-host, Sarah.
Hi everyone! So glad to be back. I hope your drive was successful, Scott.
It was. I did the drive along Route 66 and met some amazing people along the way. I cannot believe I drove 1,800 miles. The best part, I made sure I had my cooler to keep my medications perfectly safe and refrigerated.
What a fun adventure. So let's get into it. On today's episode, we're diving into something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough, the huge difference between losing the weight and keeping it off.
Let's talk about the beginning, though, that honeymoon phase. For me, it was around month 4. My clothes were getting loose. The scale was my best friend.
Oh yeah, I love that moment you are noticing the change and hitting your stride.
Right. And a coworker stopped me in the hallway and said, "You look different," which, in the world of weight loss, is basically winning a Grammy.
Totally, it's this incredible feedback loop. You do the things, you see the results, and people notice. Your brain is just swimming in dopamine.
Right. But that feeling is powerful, and the medication helps so much in that phase. The food noise just evaporates. You feel like you're finally working with your body instead of constantly fighting it.
Precisely, it feels structured, almost effortless to sustain, but then that phase ends. And it ends so quietly. There's no big announcement or transition ceremony. You just realize one day that the scale has stopped being the main event.
Yeah, it's just Tuesday, and then it's Wednesday, and the number on the scale is the same. And this little whisper starts in the back of your head. Am I doing this right? Shouldn't something be happening?
That's the maintenance phase introducing itself. And it's the moment people can start to undo their progress, because our brains have been trained for months to see change as success.
Right. And we have to really get this through our heads. Stability is success. A scale that says the same thing it said last week isn't a failure. It is the entire goal.
It's the goal, but it takes a conscious effort to redefine what winning looks like in this new stage.
And it's not just a mind game, Sarah. There's real biology working against you here. Some of the latest research shows that people who stop these medications regain weight at a shocking rate.
It's staggering. We're talking 4 times the rate of people who use behavioral interventions alone. And the stats on how many people stop taking the meds within a year are pretty high.
Which means a lot of people are getting caught in that cycle. Lose the weight, stop the medication, and then watch it all come back faster than they ever expected.
The key isn't to panic though. It's to understand that the medication gives you this incredible window of opportunity. But what you build inside that window, the habits, the mindset, that's what determines what happens when the wind picks up.
That's a great way to put it. The medication gives you the space, but it can't install the new operating system for you.
And that brings us to motivation.
Ah, yes. During the weight loss phase, motivation is like your personal hype man with a bullhorn, screaming every time the scale goes down.
Totally. Down 5 pounds, and boom, you're enthusiastic. Pants fit better, and boom, you're committed for another 2 weeks.
But during maintenance, that hype man packs up his bullhorn and leaves without so much as a goodbye note.
And you're left with just your habits. And if those habits aren't strong enough to run on their own yet, that's when things can get wobbly.
Something that really surprised me was that the habits that get you there aren't always the habits that keep you there. That super rigid tracking and all the rules I had during weight loss, it just became exhausting in maintenance.
Right. Because the reward is gone. You're putting in all this intense effort for what? A number that stays the same? It's just not sustainable long term.
Exactly. The shift had to be from rigid to sustainable, from rules to rhythms. The goal isn't to be on a diet for the rest of your life.
It's to build a way of living that isn't a diet at all. It's just how you live. And that's also when the scale has to stop being the main character in your story.
It goes from being the headline to being more like the daily weather report. It's useful information, sure, but it's just one piece of the much bigger puzzle.
Exactly. How do your clothes fit? What are your energy levels? Are your daily patterns serving you? Those become the much more important questions to ask.
And Sarah, can we talk about the fear, The quiet fear of regain that nobody really seems to mention. You've seen the other side, and the stakes just feel so much higher.
It's so real, and it can push you in one of two directions, either this exhausting, joy sucking vigilance where food is the enemy, or it can settle into a quiet, steady reminder of why your daily habits actually matter.
The goal is definitely the second one, but you often have to wade through a period of the first one to get there. So, when it all comes down to it, the game really does change. In the beginning, you're focused on losing, but in maintenance, the goal is to live in a way that makes going back feel, well, not just theoretically possible, but genuinely unlikely.
It's about consistency over intensity, building habits that are livable enough to repeat day in and day out, moving your body in ways you don't dread, and giving yourself permission to just stay where you are, to realize that stability is a huge victory.
That's it, exactly. Losing the weight changed my body, but keeping it off, that changed how I think. It taught me patience. It taught me to show up quietly and consistently for things that mostly go unnoticed. And maybe most importantly, giving yourself genuine permission to stay where you are. The pressure to keep losing, to keep optimizing, to always be actively working on something is real and loud in weight loss spaces. Sometimes the most radical act is deciding that where you are is actually good and that your job now is to stay here rather than chase further.
And that's the real secret, isn't it? Progress stops announcing itself, and you have to learn to keep going without the announcements. So I have to ask, do you still get side effects now that you have been in maintenance for so long?
Great question. I've been in maintenance for almost 2 years now. Here is something nobody puts in the brochure. You can be months into maintenance, feeling genuinely settled and proud of yourself, and your GLP-1 medication will still occasionally remind you who is actually in charge.
The nausea that visits on injection day is like an uninvited house guest who does not read social cues. The fatigue that shows up on a crash day with no explanation and zero apology. Side effects in maintenance are less frequent for most people, and the research does support that they tend to mellow over time as your body adjusts to a steady dose.
But they don't always disappear entirely. I still experience that meh feeling called anhedonia. Pretending otherwise does a disservice to everyone who is 6 months in and still Googling whether saltine crackers count as a food group. The honest answer is that maintenance is not a finish line where your body hands you a trophy and stops being weird. It's more of an ongoing negotiation, and some weeks your medication is a cooperative business partner. Some weeks it is that one colleague who replies to every email at 2 in the morning just to let you know it is still there.
We all know that coworker. If you are still in the active weight loss phase, keep going. What you are doing is hard, and it is working, and it matters. Forget about the weird comments from society. Speaking of comments, please take a moment to drop us a comment or a 5-star review wherever you stream, or visit Scott's website at mylifeonglp1.com for the latest articles or to send us an email. Before we wrap today, tell us any final advice you have on this paradox between losing the weight versus keeping it off.
Thanks, Sarah. Start paying attention now to the habits you are building during your losing phase, because that is what the maintenance phase is going to run on. The game changes. It always does. And when it does, the goal is not to keep losing. Don't forget to visit our website, send us a message, or check out my book entitled My Life on GLP-1 on Amazon. That's all the time we have for this week, so on behalf of Sarah, I'm Scott Johnson. Thanks for tuning in. The whole difference is to keep living in a way that makes going back feel genuinely unlikely rather than just theoretically possible. And it is worth understanding before you get there. Stay strong, keep creating new habits, and always remember to love your journey.